now I want to turn it over to our Chancellor, Dr. Arnie Eisen.
Thank you all for being here, and thank you for giving me a chance to talk with you this morning. I urged Zach to let me meet with you because I wanted to convey by my presence, even more than my words, how much this project means to JTS. Davidson as part of JTS, but JTS as a whole. After all, if you look at our mission statement on the website, you'll see in the first paragraph that we're here to help strengthen Jewish lives, Jewish tradition, and Jewish communities. And I don't see that there's a better way to do that, or a more necessary way to do that, than through education. Now, if you ask me why I have made this intervention in congregational schools one of my personal priorities as Chancellor for the next few years, I guess the answer is twofold. The first is biographical. So let me be honest and say I think a lot of things are biographical. I am a proud product of a congregational school. I am here today because I had 5 teachers, I believe, at Congregation Emmanuel in Philadelphia, who gave me a solid basis of skills and learning, but also gave me what, for lack of a better word, I will call love. They transmitted love. I learned to love that synagogue, love the community, love my learning because of who those teachers were. And that propelled me then. I went on to the Pro Store program, the Hebrew High School program at Gratz College in Philadelphia, which enabled me, with no further formal instruction, to pass the Torah at the Hebrew University upon and to go on and be a Jewish studies scholar. That was a supplementary program of 11 hours a week after public school. So I'm a product of supplementary school programs of high quality, and I know from my 20 years at Congregation Colomet in California and my travels around the country how many fine congregational schools there are. So you should know that when we do this initiative, we're not doing it as some people do with because we think there's a dismal record out there in congregational schools. We're doing it, as I'll tell you in a minute, because we think there's an opportunity to do some new things and do some things better, to build on what we've already got. Just along these same lines, I can tell you that I had was not a seriously embarrassing moment, a fun embarrassing moment. A year ago at Park Avenue Synagogue, the Chancellor gives an annual seminary Shabbat address, and the bat mitzvah spoke before me and gave half of my talk. And it was on Shmini of all things. It was on Leviticus. And there she was, talking about how, somebody had exposed her to Mary Douglas and all the other things that I didn't discover until I got to college. This year I didn't take any chances. I talked about Israel rather than the Parsha, so I knew I'd be safe. But the point was, you encounter really high quality kids, high quality examples of Jewish education around the country. Teachers, directors of schools, and the products are often quite good. Sometimes, in some cases, really excellent. The second thing is where the kids are, of course. So I'm persuaded by the statistics. I want to go where the kids are. And if, between 2/3 and 3/4, I think, of the kids in conservative congregations, let alone everybody who's getting a Jewish education, are getting it in a supplementary setting rather than a day school setting, I don't feel that JTS can be responsible if we ignore those kids who are in that congregational setting. It's most of the kids. But we've lost this kind of individual community. We've lost the social reality that confirms it, that does the education for us. And so it becomes more necessary and also more difficult. It's more necessary because you have to get it, as it were, in school, often lacking it in home and certainly lacking it in the larger world. And it's more difficult for that reason because how are you going to reinforce it and how are you going to pack into a very small number of hours all the things that you want a person to know? Because you want them to have literacy, but we also want them to have commitment, want them to have passion, want them to know that this is not just a curriculum but a life. This is preparing them for something that doesn't end. And in some ways, the values that you're trying to teach in the classroom are sustained or reinforced by the larger culture, where the kid is spending 90+% of the time, and even when they're in the school, they're doing this stuff. And so that's generally not Jewish content. We can make it so, but it's not most of the time. But you want them to understand how important this is, how true this is, how necessary it is to the good life that they can live. So when I first started learning about, I think what used to be called informal education, and now is experiential learning, and I've gotten some of my education at JTS from Barry and Jeff Kress and now Zach, It strikes me as intuitively correct that Jewish education has to be more than skills and information, although it must include skills and information. And then I went back to my autobiography thing and I tried to figure out how people grabbed me. What grabbed me? And what grabbed me was the constant relationship between what I was learning in the classroom and my life. And it often was, they never used the word then, but it often was on an existential level. I was appealed to as a growing human being. My emotions were every bit a part of this. My passion was called forth somehow. My identification with parental figures was part of it. My identification with role models. I mean, I was taught to learn Torah at the age of 11 by a guy who was a medical student, whom I much admired, who happened to be the son of my first grade Kita Aleph teacher. So what do I want to give my kids? I want to give my kids the conviction that life is good. I want to give them the conviction that the world can be trusted, that they should not walk around being afraid, that they have people who are there for them, that life can be a blessing, that it has blessing. I want them to know that life is good, that they can choose life, they can choose blessing, they can choose goodness. And I know that I can teach them the book of Deuteronomy, I can teach them Parashat Nitzavim, but the way they're going to learn this is not by studying Deuteronomy. They're going to learn this by a set of experiences, and their Jewish classroom had better be an experience like that. And unlike their lives, which are fragmented, their Jewish classroom should treat them as whole human beings, at whatever age they are. I knew even before I came to JTS, just because I was a scholar for education, Jewish community, and I spent some time with educators, that the stuff that's going to happen in this field that's worthwhile is going to be collaborative. So your presence here is not merely symbolic, and it's not something that we intend to move beyond, like, give us this entry feedback and then we go beyond. No, this is a project which is designed from the word go to the end as a collaborative project, where we need people who are doing the work, who know the work, to help us figure out how we can introduce this newer element into the work that's going to make it go better. And I actually believe that there's something in here that can be transformative in the way that good education is always transformative. So we can add a significant thing to the mix with your help, and that's what I hope that you will enable us to do. This is my ambition. We'll see whether it's possible, and I'll end with this, and we have a few minutes for questions. But my ambition is that JTS will participate with some of the people in this room, and a couple not in this room, in a set of pilot projects where we think these things through. So my schedule, I don't know if it's realistic, but I'm determined that it be realistic, is that we think next year and put something on the ground in 14, 15. Because I have a sense of urgency, not just because of my own, all of us have limited time, and I want to see some changes. But I think the situation is urgent, because I don't want to lose more kids and more families. So I don't want to do a shoddy product. So it's this combination of how can we do something excellent in a shorter period of time, and not wait till we figured out everything before we put it on the ground. And I would like to do something that Davidson in particular will enable us to do. I believe the combination of Ramah, literally in this building, of various grants that Davidson has, including a major one from the Jim Joseph Foundation on experiential learning, the presence of expertise in this building, Jeff Gress and others, the partnerships that we have with congregations and other educators, a network of educators. I think that Davidson can help put some projects on the ground and assess them, learn from them, study them as they are happening in real time, so that everyone else can benefit from these pilots. And that going forward, we're going to have something really special. And the hope is that ProStorm will be one of these test sites. We have a supplementary school program in the building, so let's have ProStorm be one of the pilot sites where we try out some of these things. Thank you all very much.